AMC stock declined today the most that you have seen since April 23rd of 2023. And you are seeing some bullish option positioning taking place for AMC today. If what I think is correct, today is the low of this cycle. From here, AMC stock will go higher. Now, obviously, I'm not a fortune teller, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not a financial planner. I am nobody that you should take recommendations from, and this video is not a recommendation. But some things that I have talked about in the past will be covered as well here in this video. And it's why I'm screaming from the rooftops right now. This is the low, in my personal opinion. Could the stock go a little bit lower? Sure, possibly. Don't hold me to it. You might fall a couple cents from the low of $4.07 per share. But by and large, it's time for an upside move. As you've seen in the beginning of the day today, the stock sold off. You hit a low of $4.07 per share almost exactly halfway through the trading day, and then started to go higher. Now, why you started to go higher is uncertain, right? Who knows? People all of a sudden got a little bit more bullish on AMC. They didn't want to see AMC close down over 10% in the red. You were down over 10% for a decent amount of time, and people started to buy the stock. I think this is likely to continue. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff if you have not done so already. If you guys also want to come trade with me live in real time, link down below in the description of this video as well. So, number one, why AMC's falling is the special mastery basically said that the judge should recommend this reverse split happen. Now, there's a lot of implications from this reverse split. On one hand, you're facing a lot of dilution. On the other hand, it really doesn't change this trade whatsoever. Short percentage, it's going to be the same. Or like the short interest is going to be the same, maybe I should say. Days to cover is going to be the same. Everything's going to be the same. The only thing that's going to change is the outstanding count of shares, right? The float that's outstanding, as well as the share price. That's it. Now, with that being said, the negative thesis that hedge funds have held on to is the fact that AMC is not going to recover. It's going to go bankrupt. And if AMC does raise up to $16 billion in capital, the stock's not going bankrupt, like for a long, long time. Okay, so I think that's a big part of why the stock's likely to rally from here. Also, just fundamentally speaking, everyone is negative, right? You are seeing option flows that are 1 to 3% bullish on any given day over the past 2 months, 3 months. Nobody's really bullish on a hedge fund and institutional level on AMC. Maybe rightfully so. The stock fell another 8% today. But from here on out, now that you have gotten basically this confirmation the reverse split's going to happen, it's going to go through, the judge could do what she wants, but odds are it's going to go through. You've priced in all of that bad news to AMC stock, and that's why you dropped today. Being that you priced in all that bad news, there's a lot more room to actually see a rally from this point, especially in the month of July, as I talked about in the last video. Once the reverse split is, set in stone, it's coming, it's essentially over with. Maybe after the reverse split actually happens, then you could see a bigger rally. Although we don't know exactly what day that would happen on. Now, another aspect that I've been thinking about that I have not talked about in a video yet is that AMC could be more squeezable after this reverse split in terms of just bringing down the free float. So what I mean by this is if AMC has a free float of 530 million, well, there's a lot of shares outstanding. You have to see a lot of volume to get reactions in AMC share price. If you had a free flow outstanding of, call it 50 million, because we did a reverse stock split and AMC raised a lot of capital. Well, it's going to take a lot less volume to actually move around the stock, right? There's going to be less shares out there, so more potential buyers of those shares could drive the stock higher. Kind of like GameStop. GameStop only has, like 80 million shares out there, 100 million shares out there, a much smaller number than AMC, and the stock is able to move a lot more. So that, in conjunction with the bad news catalyst being over, the sell the rumor, buy the news event taking place at that time, you could get a rally in AMC. That would not surprise me, okay? So I think that's also something to keep in mind. Now, you are seeing some bullish positioning here today with the hedge funds and institutions. Let's go ahead and take a look over on Ortex and get a feel for what I'm talking about. So overall today, it was pretty negative as far as option activity. Not nearly as negative as what we have seen recently, right? Positive order values being 3% or a little bit higher, a little bit lower. That's been very, very negative. Today, the positive order value was 18%. But what you also seen today is a lot more money flowing into AMC options. You've seen 104 orders today, totaling $56.26 million. Just last week, within the last week, including the $56 million of options placed today, you've seen 102.5 million placed in AMC options. That means today was essentially over half of the total dollar amount that we have seen in AMC options as of the last week, right? So a lot of option buyers actually came into the stock today. Some interesting things actually happening. You're getting a lot of those puts coming through. That is for sure. That's happening. Same puts, those deep in the money puts, those $4 puts being heavily targeted in very much a bearish way. But you're getting some calls coming through. Like this one, July 21st, $10 call worth $282,000. A July 21st, $10 call worth $565,000. A June 30th, $4 call worth $58,000. I believe a couple more. A July 21st $4 call worth $54,000. A July 21st $4 call worth $209,000. A July 21st $5 call worth $70,000. And I believe that does it. Nope, couple more calls as well coming in. Another $4 call for July 21st for $16,000. Another one, same exact strike and expiration for $98,000. You get the idea, right? Another $73,000 call right here. You get the idea, though. Some bullish option activity is starting to eke its way into AMC. Again, positive order value at 18% is a lot better than what we have seen recently. Still, this value is being heavily skewed towards a negative flow day for AMC because of some of the large orders like this one. In August 18th, $10 put for $3.5 million. And many other trades as well that are very large that really just skew this, right? A 750 put for $8.5 million. If you take out some of these overly large orders, then the positive order value is closer to being over 50% positive for the day, matter of fact. So if you take out those big orders, the real flow doesn't look nearly as negative as the positive order value does. And I think some people might be catching on to this. After all, when everyone is negative in a stock or the markets or whatever else it is, really, you also typically don't want to be negative as well, unless it's like a bankruptcy problem or something that is for sure coming. AMC, it's not bankrupt. It's not going bankrupt. You're really not seeing any fundamental negative news recently. Everything's been positive for AMC. Now that this bearish catalyst looks to be almost out of the way, the markets might look at that as a positive. Example, MP Materials. or other companies that have seen their earnings decline since 2021 or the beginning of 2022. Even last earnings, when those companies reported really bad earnings, the stocks actually rallied. That's because people were looking at those companies like, hey, the worst is over. Even though it was really bad, next earnings should be better. Okay, so kind of the same idea of AMC right now. And that is, something that I am watching very closely to see if things like the option activity start to flip. And you did get the start of the flip here today. Finally. It's been a while. Guys. I've been waiting to see some bullish option activity for a minute. And it finally happened. So let me know what you guys think about that down below in the comment section. If we take a look at some of the raw numbers here in the raw data, for AMC, you have a short score of 94, $559 million worth of short positions in AMC. I do also want to point out, again, for everyone, nothing changes with these short interests, with the days to cover, with literally any of this. Besides, cost to borrow fees might go higher because, it's a catalyst. It's an event. But nothing actually changes as far as this data is concerned, okay? Estimated short interest of free float, like I said, about 24%. Free float out on loan, 38.5%. Shares out on loan, 198.64 million. Days to cover, 8.9. Cost to borrow, 122.35%. 100% share utilization. So days to cover being at almost 9, that's one of the most bullish things that we currently have going for us with AMC stock. And again, when that float is smaller, it's going to take less to move the stock. So I expect the stock to be a lot more volatile than what we have seen recently when this reverse split actually happens. Now, to what degree does AMC raise capital? There's a chance AMC raises capital and does this reverse split at $50 per share or $40 per share. And then, the stock just comes right back down to, $10, $20 per share. It depends how many shares that they actually raise, right? That's going to be a huge factor as well. And when they do it, if they stretch it out over a period of time, or if they do it all at once or in a series of maybe 2 or 3, capital issuances, I think that's a variable. But by and large, I expect a rally after this reverse split. Maybe before the split, though. Maybe after just the court date, you could start to get a rally in AMC stock, as people do ultimately cover on short positions because the trade is over at that point. Right? So kind of the ways that I am looking at AMC as of right now. Again, on a broad market basis, if you have not seen the last video that was put out, nothing really has changed. Markets had a very slow day. Fed Jerome Powell says smaller banks likely will be exempt from higher capital requirements. This was one of the biggest headliners that came out of today. Powell said banks that are below 100 billion in assets won't be impacted by any new capital requirements. It says the questions and the move to re-examine regulations follow the March tumult in the industry. In separate testimony, FDIC Chair Martin Grudenberg said the upcoming rules could apply so-called Basel III international standards to banks in the $100 to $250 billion asset range. So, little bit, I guess, more reassuring to some of the smaller banks. I guess that did have a positive effect on our markets. Markets did roar back towards the end of the day. Seen a little bit of that correlation as well with AMC. Markets roared back, AMC roared back as well. And just think about it, guys. Anytime we have gotten news about this court date not going the way a lot of people would have hoped it to, the stock has been down 20%, right? Almost, that's just kind of a rule of thumb. It's down 20% if this reverse split essentially looks like it's going through and you get bad news. That did not happen today. You fell 7%. That's manageable. That's not nearly to the same extent that a lot of the bears in AMC would have expected the stock to react at. So it's also a possibility that that does spook some shorts out of short positions. If this narrative that maybe the selling is over for AMC does start to take place, that could also be a positive for the stock, guys. So there is that. Let's go ahead and take a look at AMC on a technical basis. Again, biggest technical factor that is currently at play right now, I believe, is the RSI. Every time the RSI gets oversold, the stock has bounced. Literally every time. Like, every time. I don't think this time would be any different. So based off of that alone, that's a reason to be pretty bullish, in my personal opinion, for an upcoming rally. Probably the biggest technical factor that is playing a role right now. If we take a look at the MACD, that is also negative. Not nearly as negative as we have been in the past. It's more neutral, as you really have in reality just traded sideways for like 3 months now. Almost 4 months now. Just been sideways. So MACD doesn't look nearly as bad as the RSI does. Considering the RSI is the relative strength index, that does make quite a bit of sense. Now, where AMC stock could ultimately go from here, I think is hard to say. After the reverse split is done, where does the stock end, right? After they do a capital raise, does the stock go to 30? Does it stay in the 50s? Does it go to the 40s? I don't know. But I think, just depending if shorts cover or not, if shorts do cover, you could be in for the MOAS. You could see a massive short squeeze. If some shorts cover and people just start to buy the stock and unload some of those bearish bets that we've seen recently, aka the options that we went over in the beginning of this video, that could also give you a 1 to 2x in my personal opinion. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. A lot of uncertainties here, but a certainty it looks like to me, the selling's over, the bad news is fully priced in, and AMC stock can start to catch a footing, ultimately bounce from here, and then subsequently go through a rally and or a short squeeze. So that is it for this video. There's really not too much else to actually say about the broad markets. Very slow day, not too much news, minus Fed Jerome Powell. You had some Kansas City manufacturing index data that came in -10. You were expecting -1. Some pretty negative overall economic data that came out as far as the Kansas region. And then you did get initial jobless claims that came in at 264,000. You were expecting 271,000. So a little bit better news as far as the labor market is concerned, guys. So that is it. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel on your way out. Again, if you want to come trade with me live in real time, link down below in the description of this video. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.